Hey guys, today we're going to be continuing watching the Bad Weapon Academy by Fishstick on a Stick Gaming. Today's video is going to be about the Third Degree. I cannot wait to watch this, man. This series has just been so good. It has been super funny, but also really informative on what it's like to play with some of the weapons that aren't really considered the best. Just kind of like the weapons that you don't really hear too much about, and like how you can utilize them in the best way possible. And then he also kind of rebalances toward the end and kind of gives his thoughts on what he would do if he was in charge of like trying to make this weapon better for the game. And they're just awesome, man. So thank you so much to everybody for liking and commenting on these recent videos. I really appreciate it. And with that being said, this is your first time stopping by the channel, do not forget to hit that sub button, please. Thank you. Let's go ahead and jump into it. All right. I love this music too. Okay, so far this actually looks like a good weapon. Like, I'm not seeing too much of a downside.
Welcome to Bad Weapon Academy, where we take a look at the worst weapons TF2 has to offer, and I show you how to best utilize them. Today, we're going to be looking at the only objective straight upgrade in the game, the Third Degree. It's a bit strange how that works, isn't it? There's no downsides to using the Third Degree, no damage vulnerability, no holster penalty, no slow swing speed, and yet there isn't much of a reason to ever use this thing. Why is that? Well, aside from the fact that it looks like it's made out of a peppermint candy cane more so than the actual candy cane, we need to talk about Pyro's melee in order to understand what's gone wrong here. I mentioned this briefly in my Equalizer video, but there's a few classes that have issues with getting offensive utility out of their melee weapons. Those classes being Scout, Heavy, and Pyro. Let's break down each of these at their base.
Okay.
Scout's incredible mobility allows...
The music is in the background too right now. It's so familiar sounding.
...easily close the distance on his enemies. And knowing this, along with making in-universe sense considering Scout's man-baby physique...
Is that Pokemon music? Maybe that's like DS, like Pokemon Black and White or Diamond and Pearl. I don't know.
Valve made his melee attack do the least
or something
damage
completely
all
different
classes in the game. On top of this, his scattergun and even his pistol do far superior damage at bat range. So you'll only ever use it as a last resort if you run out of ammo in your clip. And even then, you'd just be better off reloading. For Heavy, this is even worse. At least Scouts can be left without scattergun ammo pretty frequently, especially if they're using a non-pistol secondary. But the situations where you run out of minigun ammo and are left with nothing but your fists are going to come down to player inexperience more than any other factor. Or from trying to get that achievement where you fire $200,000 worth of minigun ammo. And the minigun is so devastating at melee range that everyone short of a spy is going to do everything in their power to stay as far away from it as possible. It shreds through people about as well and even more reliably than a random crit from your fists can. And finally, we come down to Pyro. If you break it down to just stock weapons, there's still situations where Scout and Heavy's melee come into play. Again, Scout is capable of being caught without primary ammo, and Heavy's fists have what is probably the best and most reliable taunt kill in the game. But with Pyro, there's really no reason to ever use your fire axe. It's pretty much the exact same issue as the Heavy problem with no taunt.
I was gonna say, like, I was playing with Pyro for the most part when I first started playing. Like, that was my main character. Now I've shifted a little more to like I really like Soldier and Engineer. But I have a lot, or I wouldn't say I have a lot of hours. I probably have like 7 or 8 hours on Pyro max. But I never used the fire axe. Never once used. I literally just used the shotgun and the flamethrower. That's like it. I think I was mainly using just the stock shotgun and the back burner, if I'm being honest. I'm pretty sure that's what I was using most of the time.
As a Pyro, your most effective range is flamethrower range. And that obviously also includes melee range. And there's no extra benefit to hitting a target with your fire axe as opposed to keeping the fire button held on them.
Alright, and I have used a squirt shot a few times. I didn't mind that.
It runs a chance of being actively detrimental
It's pretty good.
You won't get the benefits of Afterburn if you're trying to use your melee instead. And even if you use it as a finisher to get some extra burst damage at the end of an attack, you run the very real risk of your attack vanishing into thin air, because whether or not you hit someone with your melee attack is about as up in the air as whether or not it'll instantly delete them from existence. It'll sometimes be worth it to get a random crit on a target you couldn't burn in time, but any other time, it's going to actively work against you. Even against pyros who resist your flamethrower, if they know how to right-click, that basically nullifies any effectiveness you'd have against them. The Fire Axe's only conceivable two uses,
There's an
being a finisher
engineer spot I've ever seen one,
with fire damage and being able to damage fire-resistant targets, are invalidated by the existence of the shotgun, since it can do those things more effectively and from a distance. Once you throw unlocks into the mix though, suddenly everything changes. This is because there's basically two kinds of melee weapons in this game. Ones that enhance your combat effectiveness, and ones that grant some kind of utility, or in the best cases, a little bit of both. For example, the Boston Basher is not only more effective than the Bat in combat, assuming you don't miss your swing,
I hate idiots!
but it also gives Scout a support role by helping his medics build Uber. The Fists of Steel are great for crossing sight lines, retreating, or simply acting as a human shield. And the Power Jack is great not only for getting around the map quickly, but also as a finisher since it gives you a bit of health on kill. Perfect for a class who needs to get in close to do damage and who now has a speed boost to close the gap on enemies a little easier. In the vast majority of cases, the utility branch of melee weapons come out on top. The Atomizer gives the Scout the ability to triple jump, which is absolutely insane.
Which is cool,
the gloves
man.
of running urgently allow Heavy to quickly get into the fight, and the Homewrecker will immediately cause everyone in the server to suck your dick. There's some good combat melees, like the Rap Assassin increases your effective range as Scout at very little downside since you aren't using your melee much in the first place, and it's good for softening up enemies before you close the distance on
I'm not gonna lie, I was not expecting him to say that. That just caught me off guard.
And the Extinguisher is an amazing finisher, giving you extra damage and a speed boost on a kill. Hell, even the Killing Gloves of Boxing are good for fast scouting in medieval mode. And then you get to the Third Degree, and you're like, why? It's the stock Fire Axe with one extra stat added. Players connected via Medigun beams are hit. Basically, if you hit a medic who is currently healing someone, you also hit their target at the same time, and vice versa. It doesn't matter how many medics are on the target either, and for enemies being healed by more than one medic, it doesn't matter who in the group you hit. They're all connected.
Nice.
However, in regards to the Amputator taunt, that's a one-way street. It'll only work if you hit a patient the medic is healing, and it only connects that one target and the medic. So hitting an Amputator taunting medic isn't going to hit everyone that's currently getting healed. And that's it. That's the only thing separating it from the stock Fire Axe aside from its design. So all the problems that the stock Fire Axe has still apply, but with one exception. If you see someone being healed by a medic, you just kind of run at them. Like a fucking idiot. And then you die. Now, what I think this weapon is meant to be used for is a sort of ambush weapon. Like if you're flanking behind enemy lines and you see an injured enemy running to their medic for help, then that's your moment to strike, as the patient will be too injured to stop you before it's too late, and the medic will be left defenseless and now wounded himself. I don't think the intention with the Third Degree was the strategy that actually came out of it, which is you run at the patient, hope for a random crit, and then die regardless of whether you even reach the target in time or not. What I said in the Equalizer video about the kill you get being the last you'll get in a kill streak applies tenfold to the Third Degree. Now, this is because running at someone, being overhealed by a medic, is generally retarded. Mainly because medics are attracted to power classes like flies to shit, especially heavies who absolutely shred you at melee range. They are your worst enemy when using the Third Degree if they're aware of you, and even if they're not, it only takes a split second for them to realize you're there and start destroying you. Medics also like to hang around other things that completely zone you out as a pyro, like sentry guns and other pyros who know how to right-click, and perhaps most importantly, they like to hang out in big groups full of people they're constantly shifting overheal on. Meaning you can get a swing in on someone overhealed, only for it to not matter at all because the medic either suddenly stopped healing him, or pulled out his own weapons to defend himself from the pyro now encroaching upon him and his patient. This is especially true while they're building Uber behind enemy lines. In other words, this weapon's best application is against highly aggressive medics with a dedicated pocket. In the dream scenario, that power class main with the Australian primary and triple stacked unusuals who's been rocking your team's shit loses his posse.
Dude, I love this cosmetic of like the antlers here on Soldier's helmet. It's really cool. I've seen this, it's like, I think it was at the beginning of this video, the last video. I was like, man, that's
With
actually
medics
really
that have
cool.
spontaneously gravitated toward him like an asteroid belt of overheal particles to a well-earned and highly skillful random crit. And he's so ashamed of his failure
I
to
love
protect his
this!
harem that he immediately killbinds and leaves the server. In the worst case scenario, which you'll run into much more often, you die before you even reach your target, or worse, you manage to hit them, but the game decides, fuck you, you didn't, because your ping is too good to be using melee. And keep in mind, this is all assuming the enemy team even has a medic. If they don't, then you'd be better off using any other melee. Even the stock fire axe, since at least you can festivize that. In order to get over that obstacle to see if the third degree is worth using in whatever server it is you're playing in, you can check to see if anyone on the enemy team is earning points during setup, you can listen for voice lines, or you can temporarily go spy in the setup time to see if there's a medic on the other team in the first place. This is also how you can tell if it's the best possible scenario to be using the third degree. What are those scenarios? If the medic is using the Vaccinator or the Quick Fix. Pyro already has something of an advantage over Vaccinator medics. The reason being, he's one of 2 classes in the game that can equip weapons that deal more than 1 damage type. Of course, even then, the medic could just stack those kinds of uber effects twice in a row while his pocket kills you. This design was so well thought out. But if you want to run a flare gun, jetpack, or for some ungodly reason the gas passer, then the third degree can actually be even more effective. Vaccinator medics and their patients are often under the usually correct opinion that they're basically untouchable because they're abusing an overpowered piece of shit medigun. So maybe it's my bias talking, but it's extra satisfying taking advantage of the fact that there's no melee resistance on the Vaccinator. As far as the Quick Fix goes, Pyro is actually at a disadvantage against Quick Fix medics since the Uber effect will almost completely negate your Air Blast, and the consistent self-overheal on the medic makes him very difficult to kill on your own, but a crit from the third degree will completely bypass that. On top of this, the Vaccinator has a slower overheal rate, and the Quick Fix has less overheal overall, meaning your random crit actually has a chance of taking out the patient too in the right circumstances. Or at least doing enough damage that a second swing will be enough to take them out. The main reason this is so good against the Vaccinator and Quick Fix is that it effectively invalidates their Uber, and the third degree really can't do that for the Kritzkrieg or stock. The stock's Uber will completely nullify your attacks, obviously, and the Kritzkrieg makes it an even worse idea to run screaming at the patient, and in the case of at least a few classes, it's a better idea to just start air blasting. But for the Vaccinator and Quick Fix, he may as well not have an Uber while you're using the third degree. It's actually kind of awesome. As frustrating as this weapon can be to use a lot of the time, this alone puts it above the 9th circle of hell, where the Thompson and Gas Passer currently reside. Also, unlike the Thompson, the end goal here is to actually kill the medic. And the third degree can do that just fine, even if it does.
And we just watched the Thompson 6001 and it was great. And that, it didn't give me like too much of a reason to want to use that gun either, but it's one of the coolest looking guns that I've seen for sure.
Need some help from Gaben's magic touch to do so reliably. As far as your secondaries go, the jetpack and detonator can be good options for closing the distance on faraway medics that you can get an unexpected drop on. If you're in a fight you know you can sustain, which is to say usually when you're overhealed yourself, it's a good idea to butter up the medic with your flamethrower of choice before going in. Or if you're at longer range, you can hit the medic with a flare before going in, assuming you have a line of sight on him. Keep in mind if you're going for a more ambush-centric playstyle, that can alert the medic to your position before you go in. Generally, I like to use the third degree defensively more than offensively. This is mainly because of the prevalence of leveled sentry guns, but it's also because you can camp yourself outside of the enemy spawn at the beginning of the round to try and get a cheeky kill on them before the round even starts. And in general, offensive Ubers are typically much more game-changing than defensive ones, which are usually just there to sort of hold the line. So being able to prevent those can really be a big help for your team. And of course, the last thing to talk about is MVM. With a crits canteen, an assist from your medic, or even just luck itself, you can totally bypass the need for the gas passer on a group of medics.
Really?
It can actually be a good backup for the gas passer on
that's pretty cool.
Lots of groups of
I'm not gonna lie, that's pretty cool. That's pretty neat.
Medics your way. Or in a situation where you need to use the gas on a big group, but then medics come right after. With the slow recharge rate of the gas passer, this can be a big help. Not to mention...
That's true, because you have to wait for it to reload, or to recharge, but you don't have to do that with the third degree here. Wasn't even thinking about
just
that.
satisfying. Yeah, that's nice. It'll require some knowledge of the MVM wave of choice to use it most
He said
effectively.
that's nice.
And it really isn't that good on giant medics, but overall, if you see a bunch of medics in the lineup, it's a good idea to at least have it equipped just in case. So yeah, that's the third degree. One of the most unremarkable and forgettable weapons in the game, but it has its uses, niche as they may be. Being one of those weapons that's
Yeah, once again, just very situational. Just seems like especially the last couple of weapons for the Bad Weapon Academy are very situational
specifically
weapons.
meant to counter one class really limits this thing. On top of being a melee for a class that traditionally has little use for his melee without some other kind of benefit. So what do we do about it? Well, I like the concept of hitting players connected by buffing effects, so let's just increase the effectiveness as much as possible. Make it so players getting healed by a dispenser or even the payload cart better scatter if they see a third degree pyro coming, as they all run a risk of getting hit at once. I feel like this would be especially effective on dispensers since it's a more practical version of the ambush concept I mentioned earlier, as enemies who fall back to dispensers are almost always pretty seriously hurt, and dispensers attract big crowds. I'd also like to buff the effect against amputator medics and have it also apply to the soldiers' banner charges. I'd love to clear out half a team with a single strike if possible. If you want to go really crazy, you could even do this for debuffs. So a group of enemies hit by a scout's Mad Milk, a sniper's Girardi, or even a pyro's gas passer would also count as connected as long as they're under the debuff's effects. With the gas passer in particular, you could make a pretty interesting combo tool out of this. Or you could coordinate with your team to pull off some pretty insane plays with this idea, and it wouldn't rely on the enemy having a medic anymore. And if you wanted to go really nuts, you could have it mini-crit connected players. This last one is mostly under the dream scenario where random crits are removed from the game, but if that
The
isn't
dream
going to
scenario.
happen, then I'd say get rid of them on the weapon and also give it a damage penalty on non-connected enemies. There's also no visual or audio indication that you've even made a successful double hit, and no audio indication that you've killed a medic or his patient through the beam aside from the standard kill sound. If it were up to me, I'd put in a sound cue similar to the Machina when that happens, because as it stands, sometimes I'll get the random crit, only see one kill in the feed and be like, hey, wait, what? Which one did I kill? And, God, do I even want to festivize this thing? It's already kind of ugly. Give people the option. And that's about it.
I don't think it looks that bad, to be honest with you. I mean, yeah, it's not the greatest looking one by any means, but I don't think it looks bad.
Just take the base concept and go nuts with it. This weapon isn't exactly useless, and the dopamine rush you get from that connected medic one-shot is something that's hard to replicate in this game unless you're a Cabernet main, but it's just weird. This weapon's existed for so long in its straight upgrade state, and it's never been touched. I even checked the high GPS balance mod. They didn't edit this thing until Zesty made his video about it. It just feels out of place, like it belongs in a different game or something, even down to the weird circus clown design. It doesn't even fit in with its own set. This is meant to pair with the fucking Flog and Man Melter.
Okay, I'm not gonna lie. It does not look like it would go with that set too much. The only way I can see the Flog is because of like the reddish color. Maybe. But I don't see the Man Melter being a part of this unless they wanted like the little coil or wire, whatever that is right there in the front to be kind of similar to the little coil that's coming off the Man Melter. I really don't know though. It just doesn't look like it fits in well with this.
Okay, why? Hopefully one day the third degree will feel right at home with Pyro's other melee options. But until then, go out there and give those medics a taste of Gaben's fury and tell them Fish sent ya.
All right. Is there a clip? Is there an extra clip? It's usually a clip. All right.
To me, that's the big draw of the third degree, is that it invalidates the fucking vaccinator.
The Indian demo bomber.
Inidian.
I mean, it's not wrong. They do work with INI files.
Oh my god. This is so fucking retarded. I hate. Can we leave?
Yes, we can go.
Okay. I can't take this anymore.
Oh, there's more. I thought that was it.
Oh no.
Uh.
He's dead. This is so sad.
And I can't wait to hold my cat up when the video comes out and scream, "There I am, Gary, there I am."
That was amazing. Oh, there's more. I keep thinking it's going to be done. He added a few clips to this one.
Medic, I don't know what you hope to accomplish. He literally can't even move.
All right, man. That was awesome. That was all about the Third Degree. Once again, that was the Bad Weapon Academy by Fish Stick on a Stick Gaming, and I'll be sure to put the original video link down below if you want to go watch it for yourself. But please do go support this creator, man. They have been fantastic. I cannot wait to watch the next one here. This series has just been so funny, man. It's been really good. And thank you so much to everybody that said I need to go watch it. I completely understand. It's been great. So thank you so much for being here. If you haven't already, also give this video the like. It really helps out the channel here. If there's anything else you want to see me react to, you're more than welcome to comment down below, and I'll be sure to put it on the list to make. So thank you so much once again for the support. That's all I got for you. I will see you in the next video. And do not forget, man, it's Orc Army for life.